Bro, what is happening, bro? What it like who this is Big first time since he dropped out, first interview. And it's a glaze sesh, dude. It is a glaze sesh about like utterly irrelevant nonsense. That's the difference here. That's what is different this time around. Anyway, let's get to Harris Waltz concluding a 5-state swing as Trump holds campaign fundraisers. Okay?
For the White House, of course, as both candidates focus on the West this weekend. Vice President Kamala Harris holding a campaign rally last night in Las Vegas. And that's where we find ABC's Zoreen Shaw. And Zoreen, she introduced some new policies there last
HasanAbi, how can you blame people for thinking Zionists/Jews control the media and the news when this shit is what they see? I don't believe that, but I see others who, yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm warning against. That's what I keep repeating over and over again. Okay? This is something that I routinely reiterate. It's also something that I will always have a conversation on. I try to explain to people that like it's completely abhorrent, completely repugnant, completely unacceptable. Okay? There's no room for that here. But this is one of the very few communities where people will take that extra care and consideration, because what the fuck are people supposed to do? They just like look at it and they're like, well, Israel keeps saying they're doing it for Judaism. New York Times is saying that Israel's doing this for Judaism. New York Times is saying that Israel is actually, people who have like valid criticisms of Israel are actually supposed to happen. Like what are Americans who are just not initiated with this stuff at all and primed towards, due to liberal tendencies, primed towards like black and white, good and bad ways of thinking, and primed towards like behaviors and ways of thinking? What are they supposed to see here? Like, this is a very weird article for some Democrat Jews. Heightened worries about, yeah, dude, that's why they should watch Fox News, right? That's so great. Yeah, they should vote for Donald Trump, who is not. My brother's a lib with progressive leanings, got woke on Palestine recently. He's asked me a few times if Jews actually do control the media a lot. Obviously, don't let any of that, like, don't ever cave or capitulate on that front ever. Like, that is really dangerous because it's wrong thinking, okay? It is built out of conspiratorial mindsets, and it is genuinely like that is a starting point for further radicalization, and it's very scary. Don't ever let that slide, okay? Because that will lead to more nefarious and more dangerous ways of like that'll open up an entirely new world of possibilities, entirely new ways of radicalization for a person like that. You understand? It's no different than like what you see with respect to the timeline. It's no different than the Imam Khalif situation. It's no different than like Republicans looking at the crowd sizes and being like, it must be AI. Like the Harris Waltz crowd size and being like, it's got to be AI. It's no different than what the Oibrovs in England thinking that like it's occurring in this country. It's occurring in this country when it was literally a Welsh-born Christian who was mentally ill that participated in this that did this, but they ran with it anyway. And what happened? You can't reason with a lot of these people once they accept this falsehood, this false narrative. Okay, that cognitive bias continues to fester, and people become increasingly more irrational, and that opens up entirely new pathways for people to think in increasingly weird ways. Okay.
night.
Gio, she did, but first, Trump had been ramping up pressure for Harris to face reporters. Hours ago, she did. Trump is now slamming Harris, saying that she copied one of his policies. This morning, Vice President Kamala Harris proposing to eliminate taxes on tips during her Las Vegas rally, hours after the powerful culinary union endorsed her.
When I am president, we will continue our fight for working families of America.
Trump slamming Harris, saying she copied my no taxes on tips policy. Vice President Harris on Saturday also dodging tough questions about the Biden administration's involvement in the Israel amid recent Israel.
I think a much better argument in front of that culinary union crowd in Nevada would have been to say that you want no more below minimum wage. I forget what the policy is called, but in certain states, including in Nevada, you can get away with refusing to pay minimum wage, sub-minimum wage to people because of the tipping process. Yeah, it's called sub-minimum wage. Thank you. Okay? She should have just said, end the sub-minimum wage The culinary union wants this. We want this. Donald Trump wants to abolish taxes on tips, but we know that that is beneficial for corporations. The way for corporations and your bosses to get away with not paying you so you can't avoid the top of the hour ad break, which is 3 minutes long. Like, every American should have $6 in their pocket at the end of the day so they can use it on the HasanAbi broadcast by subscribing. That way they won't see the 3-minute ad breaks at the top of the hour, nor the secret 1-minute ad break in the middle of the hour. Maybe even more than that, so they can give subs and allow others to also benefit from no longer seeing the ads at the top of the hour, you know, that kind of thing. Here's the 3-minute ad break now, by the way. Hope Kai chews all your cables, then I won't be able to stream. You wouldn't want that. How does Harris keep bringing up the top of the hour in her stump speeches? I don't know, really, but she's just really lasered in. Is $2.13 an hour federally, FYI, and some restaurants even allowed to take tips out of the salary that you make? In Georgia, when I worked as a server, I would sometimes get checks for $0 because of the tips I made. Decoy 1666. Thank you for the 5 tier 1 gift to subs. In Wisconsin, the server wage is $3.25. If you make enough tips, my girlfriend wouldn't even see her paycheck when she'd work because it's like $20 a month. That's what I'm saying.
Israeli air.
We need a hostage.
Jesus, how can they pay you $0? Yeah, because like they're saying you're getting paid with just your tips.
And we need a ceasefire.
The 12,000-person political rally, a culmination of a 5-day rollout tour with Harris's vice presidential running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Many attendees energized with a shakeup on the Democratic Party ticket.
Would you be here if the ticket hadn't changed?
No, I probably would not be here.
Meanwhile, Trump attending fundraisers in Wyoming and Colorado. His last swing state event 8 days ago in Atlanta, Georgia. J.D. Vance continuing to slam Harris's VP pick, Tim Walz, who left the military after earning the highest enlisted rank for his unit, but right before his unit could have been sent to.
It doesn't make sense for us to fight over each other and talk or comment about each other's service.
Walz appearing to use the launched on him on Trump.
Donald Trump knows nothing about service. It's pretty hard to provide service to others when you're too busy looking out for only yourself.
And the Trump campaign has not announced any public events today. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris will be heading to San Francisco for a fundraiser there. Nancy Pelosi is expected to speak. The DNC is just 1 week away, Gio.
And Zoreen, while we have you here, the Trump campaign says that some of its internal communications were hacked. What do we know here?
Gio, the Trump campaign claims that foreign sources hacked them. They're referring to a report that came out from Microsoft on Friday that says back in June, a group run by Iranian intelligence officials sent a spear phishing email to a high-ranking official on a presidential campaign. We asked Microsoft about those details, but the company would not go beyond its report or say which campaign, and the Trump campaign has not provided more details either. The Microsoft report says the company had been tracking attempts from possible bad actors and foreign entities to interfere in the U.S. election. National security officials had also been of threats. Gio.
All right, Zoreen Shaw there in Las Vegas. Thank you so much.
Joseph R. Biden, 46th President of the United States. His has been a challenging, complicated...
Dude, I can't be alone on this. I love the Sunday, like the CBS Sunday morning show format. Last week it was Nancy Pelosi. This week is Joseph R. Biden. It's like from a different era. Like they still have this like weird, it almost looks like public broadcasting. I don't know why. It's like they're stuck in the 90s for some reason, but it's awesome. It's for the boomers anyway. And I think it like helps people with dementia to feel like they're still in the 90s, which is the last time I suspect their brains were like fully functioning. But there's something, it's 60 minutes. It goes on for 60 years. No, that's what I'm saying. I love that. I love that aesthetic. It's so bad. It's so bad, dude. It's awesome.
term of office, quite literally from day one. He's reflecting on the stakes for this election and on his legacy with Chief Election and Campaign Correspondent Robert Costa.
We're living through history.
We really are.
Let's begin with your decision. You're at your home, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, late July with your family, and you make this historic decision. Tell me the story.
Well, look, the polls we had showed that it was a neck-and-neck race. Would have been down to the wire. But what happened was a number of...
He's lying. Polls showed he was getting cumpstered with no pathway to winning. Like, he literally, it was not a close race.
My Democratic colleagues in the House and Senate thought that I was going to hurt them in the races. And I was concerned if I stayed in the race, that would be the topic. You'd be interviewing me about why did Nancy Pelosi say, why did someone, and I thought it'd be a real distraction, number one. Number two, when I ran the first time, I thought of myself as being a transition president. I can't even say how old I am. It's hard for me to get out of my mouth. And, but things got moving so quickly.
So you did say that. That's crazy because liberals were gaslighting me for years. So he did say that. That's so odd because I remember him saying that and I kept repeating it and liberals would tell me I was wrong and lying and it was fake news, that he never said he would be a transitional candidate, that he would never actually be a one-term president. So interesting how the turntables here. What's that about? It's just odd.
It didn't happen. And the combination was that I thought it was a critical issue for me, still is not a joke, maintaining this democracy. But I thought it was important because although it's a great honor being president, I think I have an obligation to the country to do the most important thing to do, and that is we must defeat Trump.
I saw those images of your family in the Oval Office sitting just over to your left as you addressed the nation. They came up to you after the speech. What did you say to them?
It's what they said to me. They said, my grandchildren call me Pop, my children call me Dad. And they said they were proud, and it mattered to me a lot.
When I saw you with your family in the Oval, I wondered, is he thinking of Bo, too?
Look, I can honestly say that I think of him all the time. Whenever I have a decision, it's really hard to make. I literally ask myself, what will Bo do? He should be sitting here being interviewed, not me. He was really a fine man. You know, Bo was committed to my staying committed. We had a conversation.
Bro, what is happening, bro? This is Big Dog's first time since he dropped out, first interview. And it's a glaze sesh, dude. It is a glaze sesh about like utterly irrelevant nonsense. Okay. And this is why I also said like the media is giving him his flowers because he like was forced to do the right thing. Okay. The media is giving him his flowers. They're letting him rewrite his legacy here. Okay. This is why I also say like, I personally think that if you want to maintain your legacy, if you want to not be remembered as like the guy who oversaw the most catastrophic development in the Middle East, you got to nip this Israel in the bud. Okay. That's it. He cares about that. He cares about his legacy. He's not in politician mode right now. You're being weird. Bro, he's the president. I'm being weird. He's the president, bro. Are you stupid? He is currently the American president, the president of the United States of America. You said don't be political. He's talking about his dead son. Yeah, I'm saying, who gives why are you bringing that up in this interview? Like, there are way more relevant things to ask him about. He is the president. And I'm telling you why they're doing that. Okay. They're doing that because they're giving him his flowers for doing the right thing, even though he white knuckled his way through the entire process and very selfishly refused to drop out. God, liberals are awesome, man. You guys have already went in. You've already completely rewrote the narrative in your mind, I think. Sorry, I was listening to the story. I'm not liberal. Like the guy who you're fawning over, talking about this beautiful moment with his dead son or whatever as of 3 days ago, authorized $3.5 billion for Israel and 6,500 rounds of ammunition to ship to Israel. Israel then turned around and like 100 people praying in a mosque. Okay. What are you talking about? With American weapons, by the way. Like, that's insane to me. I'm sorry. This is my calculation on this has not changed just because he did the right thing. which, by the way, he didn't want to do anyway.
And when he was, we knew he wasn't going to live. And he said, Dad, I know, we know it's going to happen. He said, I'm going to be okay, Dad. I'm all right, I'm not afraid. But Dad, you got to make me a promise. I said, what's that, Bo? He said, I know when it happens, you're going to want to quit. You're not going to stay engaged. He went to my dad and said, look at me. Look at me, Dad. Give me your word as a Biden. When I go, you'll stay engaged. Give me your word. Give me your word. And I did. And then that's why I had not planned on running after he died. And then Charlottesville happened.
In 2017, white supremacist demonstrations in Charlottesville, Virginia turned deadly when, on August 12th, Heather Heyer, a civil rights activist, was murdered in what the Justice Department called a hate-inspired act of domestic terrorism. Biden has long traced his decision to run in 2020 to that moment.
It really is the beginning of your journey to the American democracy 7 years later. How do you see it?
When I spoke to the mom who lost her daughter, as a consequence of those come out of the fields in America with torches, carrying, singing the same sick bile that was sung in Germany in the 30s. And when her daughter was, the press went to the then President Trump and said, what do you think? He said, they're very fine people on both sides. And I knew then, I knew I had to do something. And that's why I decided to run, because democracy was literally at stake. And, you know, and then he evidenced everything that we thought. You know, January 6th, when attack on the Capitol. Talked about now, because he now talks about.
No, this would have been great. Imagine if that debate never happened, dude. Holy hey, I haven't been paying attention to politics. Have the Dems realized this guy needs to drop out for them to have a chance? Nah, he's still president. I'm writing him in. Liberals got to be thanking the Biden team until next year. I mean, they didn't do it deliberately. They did it because they're stupid. You're a coward if you don't still vote for. No, I'm a Biden or buster. I actually will be riding with Biden come November. I'm writing him in.
I'm making sure they're all let out of prison. They're going to pardon them. Think of this. Every other time it's been involved, they wore hoods so they're not identified. Under his presidency, they came out of those woods with no hoods, knowing they had an ally. That's how I read it. They knew they had an ally in the White House. And he stepped up for them.
Are you confident that there will be a peaceful transfer of power in January 2025?
If Trump wins, no, I'm not confident at all. I mean, if Trump loses, I'm not confident at all. He means what he says. We don't take him seriously. He means it. All the stuff about if we lose, there'll have to be a stolen election. Look what they're trying to do now in the local election districts where people count the votes. They're putting people in place in states that they're going to count the votes, right? You can't love your country only when you win.
Trump has said his remarks on Charlottesville were not intended to praise white nationalists, and that he was warning of economic carnage when he said, but Trump.
When is he going to talk about his signature accomplishments that are going to cause the Democrats to win by a landslide in every state? I'm talking AUKUS. I'm talking Five Eyes. I'm talking NATO, baby. A lot of people said there was going to be a Finlandization of NATO. Well, I turned around and I NATOized Finland. NATO. Minnesota.
Trump isn't the only thing on Biden's mind.
Thank you.
You have about 5 months left in your presidency. You're managing two: domestic policy, the economy. On foreign policy, Israel's with. Is a ceasefire possible before the end of your term?
Still possible. The plan I put together, endorsed by the G7, endorsed by the UN Security Council, etc., is still viable.
Who's the hurdle, Brando? Who's the hurdle to the ceasefire negotiations being completed, Brandon? Could it perhaps be the party that assassinated the principal negotiator on the Palestinian side after his entire family? And you know his ass is going to say it's holding it back. Oh, I hate him. I hate him so much.
And I'm working literally every single day to, and my whole team, to see to it that it doesn't escalate into a regional, but it easily can.
You've had a lot of ambition. Some senators told me in March of 2021, you took them into the Oval Office and pointed up at FDR's portrait and said, we're going big. We're going in that direction.
I did.
He was a valid military target, Hasan. Bro, no, he wasn't. What the fuck are you talking about? Is this even a line that anyone is saying? Like, where are you getting this? Because either you're being sarcastic, or, which I hope you are, or you like literally are not even listening to CNN at this point. Like, who? Are you getting this from fucking J-Post? Like, where has anyone said that the Politburo chief of who is the principal negotiator in the ceasefire and a moderate figure by Israeli standards was actually a totally valid military target? Like, I don't even know. Like, I guess Reddit, maybe? I don't know. I don't know who is like considering that to be the case, because Western media itself doesn't say that. Germany? No, I really want to know where he, so it was a violation on like a million different fronts. Okay. Reddit r/aquariums sorted by controversial. Does the chatter think the grandkids were valid? I'm not even talking about that. Eyes on the prize. Okay. Yes, brother. It was on foreign soil, on Iranian soil. Like it's in every capacity of the word. Israel can violate sovereignty of any country it wants. Is that really the way that you are operating here when you arrive at this? Explain to me where you heard that he was a valid military target, or why you think he's a valid military target. You don't have to apologize. I just want to know, because I'm legitimately asking. I am actually unironically curious. I want to know where this information is being disseminated from, and I want to know what steps you took to arrive at this conclusion. Like, you cannot and violate another country, a third country's sovereignty in the process. I thought anyone that oversees military operations are valid targets, even a president. First of all, he does not oversee the military operations, so you're wrong on that front. He's not even like a commander-in-chief. The military branch is totally separate from Politburo. Like, he doesn't oversee the military operations at all. That's number one. Number two, he is a diplomat in this process. He is the principal negotiator. He is the principal negotiating party for the Palestinian side. He has sat in rooms with Israeli officials. But no, a person who oversees military operations are not valid targets either. Like, unless you're operating on whatever Israel does is good and whatever America does is good, but whatever anyone else does is bad. Is snoring behind me so goddamn loud. You can't hear her. When I operated the DNC, you do realize that the DNC having me there, like allowing me to be inside of the DNC, is like having the protesters inside of the DNC. You know that, right? Like, you understand that? I think my position is pretty fucking broadly known and broadly popularized at this point. Like, you have to be fucking unimaginably delusional if you think that like I'm gonna be crossing the picket line and not being committed to the plight of the Palestinians by going to the fucking DNC. No joke, a bunch of Twitter leftists say Trump is a peace choice and he would end the war. What is going on? Do they not know that means Glass Gaza? People fucking, yeah. Zana says, see you at the DNC. Wow, I can't believe she's crossing the picket line. She must not care about the Palestinians. So all these new viewers think they're more left than thou. I know. It's always a fun and cute little thing. So one thing that I forgot what I was gonna say. Never mind. I'm having a Biden moment.
So many people. Look, democracy works.
I was answering the question about Trump being a peaceful candidate. One thing you have to always remember. Listen to my words. Americans are so susceptible to marketing. Okay? Americans are incredibly susceptible to marketing. They are primed to believe marketing. That's it. Americans especially are primed to marketing. So when Trump says he's the peaceful candidate, he's the dove, whatever. People want to believe it. People end up believing it sometimes.
And it was very important to prove that it worked. Prove that it worked. I mean, look at what we've been able to do. We've created 16 million jobs. I mean, real new jobs. We've gotten around the brink of having the private sector invest over $1 trillion. $1 trillion in the American economy. One of the things I fought for as a senator a long time was to change the dynamic of how we grow the economy. Not from the top down, but from the bottom up. The idea of trickle-down economics doesn't work in my view.
You're proud of this record. Will we see you out on the campaign trail for Vice President Harris?
Yes, you will. I talk to her frequently, and by the way,
no,
I've
stay
known
away.
her running mate is a
Stay
great
away.
guy.
Stay away. Stay away. Don't. Nope. Stay the fuck away. Stay the fuck away, Joe. Joe, stay the fuck away, Joe. Don't do it. Don't do it. Thank God he's so old. That's a bluff. He's bluffing. He's gonna throw. He's gonna throw.
We say, if we grew up in the same neighborhood, we'd have been friends. He's my kind of guy. He's real. He's smart. I've known him for several decades. I think it's a hell of a team.
To those who have expressed skepticism about how much you'll be on the trail or about the rest of your term, raise questions about your health, what do you say to them?
All I can say is watch. That's all. Look,
Watch me.
I had a really, really bad day in that debate because I was sick. But I have no...
Watch me. We have, bro. We've seen it. We saw it. 50 million Americans saw it, and we're like, oh my God. It was so disastrous that you literally had to do something that has not really happened ever in American history.
Serious problem. I was talking to Governor Shapiro, who's a friend. We have to win Pennsylvania, my original home state. He and I are putting together a campaign tour in Pennsylvania.
No, LBJ doesn't count because the reasons were different. No, LBJ doesn't count because the reasons were different. Joe was forcibly removed from the ticket. Okay? Come on, dude.
Pennsylvania, I'm going to be campaigning in other states as well. And I'm going to do whatever Kamala thinks I can do to help most.
We had this conversation in the president's private residence, here in the White House Treaty Room, where historic peace agreements have been signed. Watching over us, Ulysses S. Grant, the general turned president who labored to restore the Union after the Civil War.
When you think about the presidency, we're here in a special room in the residence, so much history in this room. How do you want history to remember President Biden?
That he proved democracy can work. It got us out of a pandemic. It produced the single greatest economic recovery in American history. We're the most powerful economy in the world. We have more to do. And it demonstrated that we can pull the nation together. Look, I've always believed, and I still do, the American people are good and decent. They're honorable people.
Nah.
When I announced my candidacy to run way back for president, I said we got to do three things: restore the soul of America, build the economy from the middle out and the bottom up, not the top down, and bring the country together. No one thought we could get done, and including not my own people, what we got done. But one of the problems is I knew all the things we did were going to take a little time to work their way through. So now people are realizing, oh, that highway, oh, the big mistake we made, we didn't put up signs saying Joe did it.
They did.
Folks!
They literally did, and it was actually smart of them to do so. They did do that, and also it was actually brilliant. They literally have signs on infrastructure projects where it just straight up says, like, this was brought to you by Joe Biden. And they should do that. Why the fuck wouldn't they? I think that's valid to do. Some of the best aspects of his fucking presidency. Flaunt it. Who cares? Hasan, you may not believe it, but most people are actually decent and normal. Wait, I do believe that, bro. Calm down, okay? I'm making a joke when I said, oh, no, American people are not decent, okay? Shut up. Don't be so fucking baby brain.
The people of this nation have spoken.
4 years ago, what Joe did was defeat Donald Trump. Now, with Trump attempting to return to the White House, Biden is sounding the alarm, in a way sitting presidents rarely, if ever, do.
The stakes are that high to you.
I give you my word, I think they're that high. Mark my words. If he wins this nomination, this election. Watch what happens. It's a danger. He's a genuine danger to American security. Look, we're at an inflection point in world history. We really are. The decisions we make in the last 3-4 years and the next 3 or 4 years are going to determine what the next 6 decades look like. And democracy is the key. And that's why I went down and made that speech at Johnson Center about the Supreme Court. Supreme Court is so out of whack, so out of whack. And so I propose that we limit the terms to 18 years. So anyway, there's little regard by the MAGA Republicans for the political institutions. That's what holds this country together. That's what democracy is about. That's who.
I don't know why when he whispers, it like cuts into my soul. I hate when he whispers, dude. It's so creepy. Who the fuck told him it was fine to whisper like this so much?
Who we are as a nation.
Mr. President, thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be with you.
An honor to be in this room with you. Thank you.
What a difference a few weeks makes. Before President Biden dropped out of the presidential race, that was 3 weeks ago today, Democrats were discouraged. Republicans were on a roll, and it looked like Donald Trump was well on his way to winning back the White House. Now, a new New York Times Siena poll of the battleground states likely to determine who will win shows that the Kamala Harris-Tim Walz ticket has the momentum, leading Trump-Vance by 4 points among likely voters in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. That's a dramatic change after what the Times is calling the worst 3 weeks of Donald Trump's 2024 campaign. After a rough start as Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance is now leading the Republican effort to define the Harris-Walz ticket and to regain the momentum. I caught up with him this weekend at his home state of Ohio. We started with the state of the race. Thank you for joining us, Senator Vance. So, thanks for being here. I saw Kamala Harris said that she's the underdog in this race. Is that the way you see it? I mean, are you guys still the front runners here?
Look, I think that we are going to have a very tight election, John, and that we just have to sprint to the finish line. We have about 88 days to actually persuade the American people that President Trump should be their president and be their vice president. And I think you just take nothing for granted. You don't believe any polls, whether the ones that are good for you or bad for you. You just try to persuade people as much as you can, and the chips are going to fall where they are.
But Trump seems to think that he's got a huge lead. I mean, you said this at the press conference. He suggested it could be a landslide looking at polls. Do you tell him that you need to kind of like temper expectations?
I think President Trump is extremely confident. Look, I'm extremely confident. I think we're going to win. I also think that we have to work as hard as possible for the remainder of the election to try to persuade Americans to vote for us. That's the name of the game. But yeah, look, do I think President Trump is actually as confident as he pretends to be in public? Yes, he actually is. But we still have to work very hard.
So
there's a weird way to say that.
Talk about racism and whatnot. You faced some really nasty stuff. I saw this thing that Nick Fuentes, of course, he's an avowed white supremacist. He said, "What kind of a man marries somebody named Usha? Clearly, he doesn't value his racial identity, his heritage." I mean, this is racist garbage.
Yes, it is.
But this is also a guy that dined with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago during this campaign.
Well, and that Donald Trump doesn't know anything about and frankly doesn't care for. But yeah, look, my attitude to these people attacking my wife is she's beautiful, she's smart. What kind of man marries Usha? A very smart man and a very lucky man, importantly. And my view is, look, if these guys want to attack me or attack my views, my policy views, my personality, come after me. But don't attack my wife. She's out of your league.
But, I mean, that dinner that Trump had, and of course it was Kanye West, the guy that's praised Hitler, who arranged it all, that was back a year and a half ago, and Trump still hasn't given a full-throated denouncement of this guy who said that terrible stuff, but he said, I mean, he's a white supremacist.
Look, I think President Trump has issued plenty of condemnations on this. The one thing that
the
one thing I like about Donald Trump, John, is that he actually will talk to anybody, but just because you talk to somebody doesn't mean you endorse their views. And look, I mean, Donald Trump spent a lot of quality time with my wife. Every time he sees her, he gives her a hug, tells her she's beautiful, and jokes around with her a little bit. I'm not at all worried about Donald Trump. I'm worried sometimes about these ridiculous attacks. But again, this is what you sign up for when you come into politics. I wish people would keep it focused on me, but whatever. They're going to say what they're going to say. My wife's tough enough to handle it, and that's a good thing.
All right, let's focus on something that's gotten a lot of attention. I mean, you know, this cat ladies comment. You talk about Democrat Party dominated by childish cat ladies. Put that aside. You also made a policy proposal.
Yes.
Which was why Tucker Carlson had you on for that interview. And you said you advocated giving extra votes to people with children, which seems a little...
Well, John, it's not a policy proposal. It's a thought experiment, right? Democrats said we should give children the right to vote. Some Democrats had said we're going to give children the right to vote. And I said, well, if we're going to give the rights to the children, then we should actually just allow the parents to cast those.
Who has said that? If this motherfucker doesn't follow up with which Democrat has said children should be able to vote,
votes, right? I trust a parent more with a decision like that than I do, say, a 14-year-old. So it's a thought experiment. There are, though, policy positions behind my view that the country should become more pro-family, right? One thing I learned as a dad is after our second child we brought home, we have 3 little kids, we got these ridiculous surprise medical billings from the hospital because we had chosen an out-of-network provider, of course, at this most stressful of all imaginable moments. I've actually introduced legislation to stop moms and dads from having to go through those surprise medical billings. We want to expand the child tax credit. There's so much that we want to do, John, to make the country more pro-family. And I think it is frankly shameful.
how do you propose whipping votes in your own party to expand child tax credits when the expansion of child tax credits was a pivotal legislative agenda item for the Democratic Party, which did expand child tax credits, but then due to the overwhelming popularity of it, had not made it permanent, thought that there could be legislation to make it permanent. The Republicans actually destroyed that. There is currently a bill on the floor of the Senate to expand child tax credits. Will you give us your assurance to vote for it if it happened to pass tomorrow?
That the Harris administration has lied about what I actually said. Look, sometimes family doesn't work out for people, and that's okay. But I do think that Kamala Harris herself has pursued some anti-family policies, and that is a problem and something we ought to push back against.
So I put aside whatever other people. I mean, I listened to your entire speech. I listened to the whole thing, and I saw, and you did say you weren't talking about people who physically can't have children. I mean, that's not what you were saying.
Well, and sometimes it just doesn't work out, right?
And it didn't work out. You did say that. You called it throat clearing, I think. You said,
Senate Republicans blocked bill to expand child tax credit. Democrats held the vote to make criticism over Senator J.D. Vance's comments about childless cat ladies, seeking to cast the GOP as on the wrong side of helping families and raising children. The vote was 48-44, with the vast majority of GOP senators voting against it. Democrats voted in favor, with the exception of 2 independents who caucus with Democrat Senator Bernie Sanders and Joe Manchin. And just 3 Republicans voted for it: Josh Hawley, Rick Scott, Mark Wayne Mullen. I don't know why Bernie voted against it. Oh, no, it's saying he voted for it. Democrats voted in favor, with the exception of 2 independents who caucus with Democrats. Wait, the vote on the bill, which would provide most financial help to multi-child households. Senate Republicans blocked a bipartisan bill on Thursday to expand the child tax credit and provide some tax breaks for businesses. Oh my God. They put I didn't realize there was a poison pill in there. I strongly support restoring the expanded child tax credit from the American Rescue Plan that reduced childhood poverty in America by 40%. I cannot in good conscience, however, vote for the tax package that is being voted upon today. At a time when massive wealth and income inequality, we should not be giving tens of billions of dollars of tax breaks to some of the largest, most profitable corporations. This legislation would hand out a $2 billion retroactive tax break each to Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, some of the most profitable defense contractors in the world. God, I fucking hate the Democratic Party. Why? Just put a straight line. Just put a straight line proposal, man. What the fuck? I didn't even realize there was a poison provision in there. Vance stumps his pro-family but skips vote on the child tax break. This also literally offers cover. When Bernie doesn't vote, when Bernie doesn't caucus with the Democrats, it also offers cover for the people like J.D. Vance to not vote for it. You know what I mean? What? Trump 2024? Oh, come on. Lake, you can't be clapping these hogs. Does his research on NBC News, Lamau definitely a bot Trump 2024, just like fake hijack rallies. Like, that guy is hallucinating. That's awesome. Like, we want that. We want that guy to fucking be in the chat. You know what I'm saying? I want to hear from that guy. I'm excited to hear what kind of new insanities this person is going to put forward.
Look, I'm not talking about that. But you
well,
did
because
say,
I knew people would try to misrepresent it, so it's important to be clear.
Let's look at what you exactly said. You
Please.
said, when you go to the polls in this country as a parent, you should have more power. You should have more of an ability to speak your voice in a democratic republic than the people who don't have kids. I mean, you are directly saying that people with kids should have more of a voice in our democracy. Thought experiment or not about how that is done, but that is the principle. And I mean, I could read on, but you are